Widespread blackouts, soaring energy prices and industry shutdowns. That's the bleak picture predicted to hit Australia's eastern states from as early as next year because of a looming gas shortage. The Australian energy market operator is warning without action, the nation could be forced to choose between keeping the lights on or turning off gas supplies.
Australia rode on the sheep's back, but Adelaide wool processor Michelle built its export business on an around-the-clock supply of affordable gas and power. These days, neither is assured.
It's cheaper to stop for 2 or 3 hours and turn back on again when everyone's gone to bed and get back into normal production again.
It's about to get worse. When Victoria's hulking Hazelwood coal power station closes this month, gas generators will be expected to fill the void of baseload power in the national market. But domestic gas reserves are dwindling. More than 2/3 of the gas extracted is being shipped out to Asia, and some state governments are locking the gate on new exploration. Now the energy market operator is predicting widespread shortfalls.
We're seeing shortfalls in electricity and gas potentially starting in summer of 2018-2019.
Without action, the nation could face a stark choice: turn off the lights or turn off gas supplies to homes and businesses. Even with new supply, price hikes will threaten the future of some manufacturers.
And it's why I'll be urgently calling the chief executives of the East Coast gas companies together to explain how they plan on addressing this threat to their customers.
To get a sense of what might happen, look no further than here in South Australia. Since the state's last coal-fired generator closed a year ago, wholesale power prices have soared. The state is now heavily reliant on gas generators like this one to meet peak power demand and to keep the energy grid in balance. Last year, when too few gas plants were switched on during a catastrophic storm, the entire state's lights went out.
Gas-fired generation is becoming more critical to the secure supply and operation of the electricity market, given that we're using it to manage the transition to renewable energy.
The market operator hopes its warnings will spark the gas markets into action. Wool producer David Michelle hopes it lights a fire under the political class.
I'd really love to see a nation-building strategic solution for all this that means that we do sort of what America's doing, use their natural resources to actually lift their own economy.
One thing's clear, no longer can gas and power supply be considered in isolation. Nick Harmson, ABC News.
Calls now are growing for more gas supply to be brought on stream and for enough to be put aside to satisfy local industry needs. Carrington Clark has the story.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
The country saw an opportunity to enrich itself by selling some of its gas abroad, but part and parcel of that decision was that the price we pay domestically would be linked to the international price.
Australia will soon be the biggest exporter of gas in the world, but perversely, we soon won't have enough gas at home.
By far, the biggest shift in the Australian gas market has been the opening up of the East Coast domestic market to the international market.
And now there are calls for a rethink, putting Australia first.
There should be a national interest test applied, the criteria that there is sufficient gas available for domestic consumption.
The Energy Minister seems like he's open to the idea.
I've recently seen what has happened in Queensland, where that state government has offered a tenement for companies to invest in on the condition that that gas is supplied domestically. And I think that's quite a creative way forward.
It's not a new idea. Most major gas-producing countries look after themselves. At least 10 countries ensure that some of their gas stays in the domestic market, either through reservations, sovereign ownership, or national interest tests. While here at home, Western Australia already mandates that some 15% of gas produced stays in the state.
We think that there should have been a national interest test a long time ago, and had there been one, we wouldn't be currently facing the situation we're facing.
And what we're facing is a crisis of our own making. Carrington Clark, ABC News.
So what about Queensland? Here's Louisa Repgetz with more on what it means for our state.
Queensland is in a much better position than other states, but it's still part of the national market and not immune to widespread shortages, which are predicted to hit the state between 2030 and 2036. Queensland has experienced an LNG boom in recent years, a $60 billion industry driven by growth in coal seam gas. So you'd think we'd have enough to meet demand, but the majority of the gas is locked up in overseas contracts, which means it's exported or it's sent down south. And experts say that is one of the factors that has pushed up electricity prices, and it will be an issue for a while yet. In a bid to ensure more gas is kept for domestic use, in a pilot program, the state government is quarantining a section of land for Australian use only. 58 square kilometres in the Surat Basin has been released for tender for exploration. Whether any of that land will be developed is not yet known.